Smartest guy from my high school became an actual rocket scientist.
How hard can it be? It's not like it's...
I'm a rocket scientist. One of the dark secrets is, doesn't take a rocket scientist to be a rocket scientist. We had a few folks that skated by with gentlemen C's.
You tell people I'm a rocket scientist? I'm a theoretical physicist. My God, why don't you just tell them I'm a toll taker at the Golden Gate Bridge? Rocket scientist, how humiliating.
He went to MIT, works for Apple, and has a very expensive home in California. He also has a wife and 4 kids and seems to be very happy. I remember he was programming games in high school and was valedictorian. A big nerd who became a wealthy big nerd.
Smart kid, the happy ending.
I don't understand why many people shame nerds. They become the successful people in long run.
I'm proud of you, McLovin.
There were 2. They were twins. They're both geneticists now with PhDs, and they work at the same university.
That's honestly so cool. How they got to stick together all throughout grad school, and secure a position at the same institution.
The smartest in my class were twins too. Would get perfect or almost perfect grades in every subject. Like 100% in almost every test or assignment, whether it's a math test or history paper. Did a ton of volunteer hours too. They both got accepted into Cambridge University's med program. I think only 5 or 10 applicants got accepted from all of Canada. One's a neurosurgeon and the other a cardiologist now.
Have they ever gone all in on the and that's when I cloned myself so there could be 2 of me prank?
He was smart enough to never associate with people from high school. Again, he has never attended a reunion, and it's been over 30 years.
I too have not talked to anyone from school for close to 30 years.
I have 2 people I keep in touch with, but he'll travel here to camp and we'll hang out. The other I game with, and he helped with my PT after my crash. Other than that, I have no clue what the rest are doing. My 20-year came up and I didn't realize it. Though it made me feel like my youth is long gone. Man, nostalgia.
My 25-year reunion should be this year. No idea if it is even taking place. High school sucked. I kept in contact with my friends and got on with life. I don't care about what happened to the prom king, or who is now bald and fat, or who is a soccer mom touting an MLM scheme. They didn't matter to me then, and they don't matter to me now.
Died from a brain tumor right after he graduated high school. He was dang smart. Could play the piano upside down too.
Was he upside down or the piano?
A guy a year younger than me died of brain cancer in his 2nd year of college. I didn't know him, but had many mutual friends with him. Don't know just how smart he was, but he got into one of the most competitive schools in the state, so there's that. Poor guy was well loved, and it happened, I think maybe 9 or 10 meters after he first went to a dark... Cancer sucks.
Dude, there's like 26 million Australians. That's not all that impressive, Tobash.
He moved to Poland and became a molecular biologist.
Not sure why, but I read this as muscular biologist, which made me cackle.
Meanwhile, Poles are trying to move out from Poland.
Polska.
She worked at Johns Hopkins doing research with psilocybin.
I too know a few people who got really into studying psilocybin after high school.
It was me, Johnny Hopkins, and Sloan Kettering, and we're blazing that shit up every day.
I smoked pot with Johnny Hopkins.
Superstar pediatric neurosurgeon. Most confident person I've ever met. Guess you'd have to be, to cut open a little kid's skull and operate on their brain.
I saw some interview during a documentary when a surgeon said something to the effect of, "Yeah, I come off arrogant at times. But do you want a surgeon who's not extremely confident in their abilities?"
I like this joke. The surgeon is about to open the patient who is under local anesthesia. Doctor exhales and mutters, "Don't worry, Peter, this is going to go well, you'll see." The patient says, "My name is not Peter." The doctor answers, "Oh, I know, I am Peter."
Dropped out of college to marry and support the much younger woman he got pregnant. Now, 30 years later, owns a board game store with a large back room for mini painting and games, and plays dad to half the neurodivergent kids in town. Still married to the same woman too. It's not a high-flying life, but he makes a difference to so many people. Edit, wow, this blew up. To make y'all feel better, he was 23, I think, and she was 18. A big age gap when you're young. It was also in the Netherlands, where at least at the time, I've been gone a while. We didn't really care so much as long as it wasn't a 10-year difference, or one of them was under 15. Teenagers have sex drives. It happens.
This is the most wholesome thing on here.
Ask not what people make or do. Ask how they influence their community. Rich people donate, poor people engage. He'll leave a mark on like the co-director of some F500 company.
Dropped out of college to support the much younger woman he got pregnant. Are we talking about a 20-something impregnating a teen? An 18-year-old impregnating a 13-year-old?
Guy had 3 scholarship offers, lasted 1 year in uni before jumping off a building. Feel sorry for him and his family.
I was in a really dark place at the start of this year. During my first week in uni, I was the stereotypical gifted kid during secondary school and 6th form, 12 to 18 education total in the UK. Especially during secondary, the teachers would have me check their answers, and if I got a different result to the textbook, they'd have to come in as a mediator to see who's right. I wanted to kill myself during my first university year. I still struggle with the thoughts. This was made worse by my depression affecting my results, making my grades and performance drop, and because I for so long had valued myself according to academic achievement. It really burned. I felt especially worthless. There's a bridge on the way to the train station in university. It's not a big drop, but it's right above a motorway. I thought about jumping off a lot. I resonate with this story. I can only hope that I don't head back into that dark place when my second year starts. Edit. Wow, this is really heartwarming. I'm so happy so many of you replied. I really didn't expect you to. I was replying to every comment individually, but I just did a scroll through and realized that there are so many more than I thought. You're all so very kind, and you're all strangers to me. It means even more. People who don't know me at all have such a capacity to be kind to me and love me and share their own stories. It's so human. It means a lot for someone who hasn't had many friendships that are genuine. Thank you all so much, you're all amazing. It means so much to me that you all replied. And I'm sorry I myself can't reply to all of you. I started, but it's just a lot, haha. Thank you all. Also, rest assured, I am getting therapy. I am on medication, it's a journey, but I'm doing my best. I can say I'm at a position where I don't want to kill myself anymore. That's not saying that I won't want to in the future, or that I don't still have thoughts from time to time, or even that I'm ready to live. But I at least go through my day, generally not wanting to die. It's a start, right?
Some gifted people have serious mental issues, as most get bullied and taunted, and they get closer to killing themselves every time treats them badly. There are lots of cases like this, where they realize the world is too arrogant to change for the better, so why be in it?
I heard my grandaunt absolutely die again and again at the funeral of her son. It was really harsh. I wish to see her again.
The smartest one I knew ended up drowning, tragically, right after we graduated. I wish I could have seen him make an impact on the world.
I knew a guy like that too. His twin brother has been devastated since. So sad.
Kind of the same. He was technically the salutatorian, but I think he was smarter than the valedictorian. Ended up dying when an avalanche pushed him off a cliff during a backpacking trip in Europe. Sophomore year of college, won't forget my reaction to hearing about it before even his mother, by weird circumstance of a chain of friends on the trip. R.I.P. Henry, you were cool, Af, and I literally cannot pass a soccer ball without thinking about you.
Ami, that's devastating.
The smartest kid in my school was really popular and was one of my closest friends. But when he graduated, he left everyone and everything behind, including his family. He even changed his name. I found out this little bit of information because a friend went to an academic conference and showed me a group photo, and he was in it. I exclaimed, "That's my friend Pascal." He kept his first name, but his last name was an anagram of his original name.
I knew a guy who did this. One of my best friend's older brother. He got a degree in German and moved to South Korea for a little while. Next thing we know, he had moved back to his native state, but to a small town, and had taken on a whole new persona. Different name and all. Apparently he spoke with a German accent in his new life. We met a guy who only knew him as the new version. That conversation was wild.
So you changed your name to Pascal Littbucker? You didn't like your old last name?
He changed his last name? That's a bit unusual, surely. I got my PhD and ran off to 2 different countries, but still kept my name. There are maybe a handful of people from home I stay in contact with though. The rest I don't care about.
He's in jail for murder, came as a surprise.
I'm gonna need you to elaborate on that.
You weren't the one he killed, were you, Mr. I Am Corpse?
I know someone like this too. Was valedictorian and was an honors student at the university he attended. He ended up killing his mother. They found him shortly after he was seen walking through a local Ford service center nude, covered in blood, whilst listening to a religious sermon. Long story short, he had a psychotic episode triggered by attending a religious conference and believed that he was a prophet and that his mother had been possessed by Satan.
My best friend at the time, we drifted apart and speak only rarely now. He got a PhD at Harvard, studied science in Antarctica, and now teaches at an Ivy League university.
University of Antarctica.
We drifted apart and speak only rarely now. Remember what we used to do and how it used to be? I always knew to count on you and you depend on me. I guess we drifted out of touch. But that's the thing, they say. It's not that friendships end as such, they simply slip away.
This is beautiful. May he always stay intelligent, purposeful, and happy about life.
I'm just scrolling Reddit, TM.
Given what the other top comments are saying, you got off easy.
Me too. At the graduation party, a classmate came up and said, if any of us would achieve great things, it would be you. Now I'm just spending most of my days doom scrolling or crawled into a fetal position whenever anxiety, depression, OCD strikes.
That guy sounds like a schmuck.
There are two. I remember one of them crying when they got an A on a test in like 7th grade. One of them, the one who cried, is an executive in a Fortune 500 company. Nothing special, but making a lot of money. The other one is a brain surgeon.
Sounds like my cousin. She had a complete breakdown from getting an A on a test. But her father was also super physically abusive. If she got anything less than 100%, even as a young child, coloring outside the lines was not allowed. She's now a teacher with an Instagram perfect life. It's far from perfect.
Some kids get abused for not getting the maximum score by their parents. Fucked up world.
One of my best friends was all wound up academically, but was otherwise down to earth. He cried when he got anything short of A's on tests. I remember in algebra, he got a B. The tests were handed out in the beginning of class. He spent the whole class muttering to himself that his parents were going to kill him. He came back the next day, so all was well, lol. Can't keep tabs on him today since we went our separate ways after high school, and he never had much of a social media presence. Last I heard, he was working software development for medical documentation software. Seems like a safe, well-paying gig.
Disappeared into a shadowy government job. Poof, gone. Edit. Wow, this exploded. Almost like the US government headhunts like any other business, I guess.
Same here. He joined the Navy, then nothing for years. Then he posted a pic of him on the deck of a ship in what looked like an astronaut-level diving rig. Then nothing, I'm so intrigued. Next smartest did MARSOC.
John Cusack? No wait, that was freelance.
My maths teacher at school recounted a story during her graduation where a man approached the student next to her, top of their graduating class. And after a business card was given, plus some whispered tones, the kid got up and left with him and fell off the face of the planet.
I had such a big crush on her and told her. We dated. She moved across country to study and is now a doctor. So proud of her, even though our lives changed paths.
Funny enough, the same thing happened to me, except after I confessed my feelings, she never talked to me again.
If she ain't married, save up and move closer. Rekindle the flame.
Go after her. Leave a note for Robin Williams and he'll be proud.
He got sick with a rare stomach disease and isn't doing too good.
A guy I got hired with is a chemical engineer, seems really intelligent, and just went off work around 5 to 6 months ago with a rare stomach disease. Wonder if it's the same person.
What disease?
One of the smartest people I know has lots of rare diseases. She says she plans to keep going until she either achieves her dreams or gets stressed to kill her. I'm still fascinated with her.
After never having even smoked a cigarette or drank alcohol in high school, straight at push drank. As all the way through, he got a full ride to a really good university. As a freshman, he dropped acid, walked out in front of a car, and was killed.
Sort of reminds me of a college friend. He was straight edge, no drugs, alcohol. I think he even stayed away from caffeine. Said addiction ran in his family, so it made sense. Decided though that immediately after graduation, he wanted a huge party and had his first alcohol. Got insanely trashed, but survived for about 20 years. He died of liver failure due to severe alcoholism at the age of 41. I hate that I remember where he was, where it started. But what did we know?
Fuck.
That's why you either do acid in someone's house or out in nature, never in public areas. I remember my first time crossing the road was an actual nightmare because it was impossible to tell whether it was safe to cross or not.
Got a full ride to Harvard, did an internship his first summer at Intel, and was killed by a drunk driver a few weeks after arriving in California. Fucking couldn't believe it when it happened 25 years ago. Still can't really...
Fuck drunk drivers.
I was playing a game on Discord one night, and this guy, my friend and I hadn't talked to in years, was killed that night. One of the dudes on the Discord was still close with him. It was fucking awful. He was absolutely mutilated, nicest, most intelligent guy, murdered by a drunk driver. We were literally making jokes about us hanging out the night before and how we hadn't heard from him in a long time. Back then, I was ignorant and would drive if I felt fine. But that was such a horrible thing, and I feel like a piece of shit nowadays, that it had to really resonate with me to understand someone taking the life of anyone that hasn't had a chance to live it for literally no reason whatsoever. Taking a life, period. But it hit way harder knowing the guy and who he was.
Life is never promised.
Damn, this thread is fucking depressing.
It seems to be a game of professor or suicide.
Imagine being one of the brightest minds around a bunch of people who just don't get you. This thread seems to have a theme for the ones who didn't perform as expected.
Recurring theme of poor mental health, social skills. Intelligence often comes with a price. I've paid my own, was top of my grade most years, and haven't had a single entire year of good mental health.
He spent years researching how to cloak himself like the Predator from the 1987 film with Arnold Schwarzenegger. He got surprisingly far before he ended up getting a top-secret government job. Haven't heard from him since. Maybe he's a secret agent? Maybe he actually became the Predator? No one knows.
He actually perfected the cloaking tech, and now lives with you without you knowing.
Why didn't you say, haven't seen him since? It was there on a silver platter.
He probably works at DARPA.
She got a PhD as neuroscience from Stanford, and I think she's a professor or associate professor somewhere now. She was possibly the sweetest girl I'd ever met. I was an intelligent underachiever, and ended up in a few AP courses with her, because our teachers saw my test scores and refused to continue to let me do dipshit things with my dipshit friends. She was always super proud of me when I actually showed up and put some effort in. And, lo and behold, got excellent marks. Honestly, she really turned around the last 2 years of HS for me. Also, she's wicked hot now, a hot genius.
You forgot the part about how she is your wife.
So you loved her, hey?
Is her name Toops Jones? James Bomb /wiki/ Miss Jones?
She married a religious fruitcake, 12 years older than she was, almost immediately after graduation, and started pumping out kids. Never went to college, has never had a job, spends her days on Facebook, shaming people for being sinners.
Does that pay well? I could shame people all day long.
This reminds me of Andrea Yates, the woman who drowned her 5 kids in a bathtub. I was reading about her a few days ago. She was valedictorian and captain of her swim team, and she graduated from the University of Houston. Eventually, she met her husband, who was a Christian fundamentalist, and she fell into a lifestyle where she believed birth control was sinful and one had to have as many children as possible. So when they got married, she quit her job and started having babies. After giving birth, she began to suffer from postpartum psychosis, and the doctor told her husband they shouldn't have any more kids and that she needed to be on medication and have someone watching her at all times. This went against their beliefs, so they had another baby, which meant she had to get off the medication. And her husband also felt that she needed to begin spending time with the kids unsupervised so that she could properly care for them, as a mother should. Anyway, the first time she was left home alone, she killed her kids. The youngest was only a few months old.
Good Lord, this reminds me of one of my relatives. Except she found this ultra-religious Calvinist man 2 months before her college graduation. They got married right after she graduated. She got religiously and politically conservative, started pumping kids out. Husband revealed his abusive colors, brainwashed her into cutting off her family. Her transformation from someone who wanted to work for Deloitte or a top consulting firm to a stay-at-home Facebook prayer warrior / Bible thumper is chilling.
He is currently an aerospace engineer who played a big role in the engineering of the Canada arm.
I actually live very close to one of the facilities that played a big part in the Canadarm. Really cool stuff.
Just got to see the first one in the Smithsonian Udvar-Hazy Space Museum. They've got it displayed right next to Discovery, complete with the word Canada splashed along it and a massive Canadian flag.
I'm about to sound super dumb and living under a rock, but what is that? It sounds interesting. Is it a shuttle or a satellite?
He was an idealist, became a priest and served in the Vatican, became disillusioned and left the church, got 2 master's degrees, and died by his own hand. He was a truly good person who couldn't marry his ideals with the reality of the church.
You write well, Batu.
What school did you go to where the smartest kid becomes a priest?
Became disillusioned and left the church, got 2 master's degrees, and died by his own hand. Many smart people struggle with desperately wanting to believe a religion, but they're simply too smart and see right through all the lies and myths. This is one of the horrible things religion does to people. It drove him to suicide. A life that would have been otherwise a wonderful and fruitful life of a bright kid. That said, most exceptionally smart people don't struggle as much to throw off the albatross of religion, especially brilliant scientists. 92% of the members of the National Academy of Sciences reject a belief in God or higher power. Our Evolution Outreach, Biomed Central, Cardicles /10 1186 1936-6434 633.
When I was in middle school, we had a super smart kid join later on in the semester that was always teased because he was above everyone else mentally. I think in 8th grade, he was doing 10th or 11th grade mathematics. Any tests that he took, he passed with flying colors, hardly even studying. He befriended me. I was kind of quiet in middle school because of stuff going on at home. His mom always made me an extra sandwich whenever she made his lunch. I lost contact after graduation, but a few years later when I was a sophomore in college, I decided to look him up on Facebook and couldn't believe what I saw. There was my friend, the Brainiac, smoking salvia out of a huge bong as his profile picture. I think he had to take it down because when I looked him up again, he had pics of him drinking out of a funnel.
I can't speak for anyone else, but I was in a similar position in HS and experimented with just about everything out there, including the madness that is salvia. 500K in scholarships, and I didn't take a single one. Probably was known, and will always be known, as a drug addict to most that I went to school with. Now a VP of a global company, living thousands of miles away from home, and more successful than I would have ever dreamed possible. My 20s were rough, but I'd bet a lot of the younger cohort here end up better than you'd think.
I believe he works for NASA. He deleted his Facebook a while ago, like the smartest kid in our class would do, but that's what he was doing last I checked.
I have no idea if she was the smartest in her class, but I knew someone that was an astrophysicist at NASA. She got laid off when they closed the space shuttle program and became a cashier at Panera.
He probably doing some real secret stuff, common thing government workers do.
My smart sis worked at NASA for years.
Died in a car accident sophomore year. I loved her. First person I felt those feelings for. I could remember the first time I saw her in kindergarten. We also learned to golf together my freshman year. It was tragic because she had so much potential and died overachieving trying to get to school early for jazz band practice. It was snowing and school hadn't been delayed or canceled yet, as our superintendent liked to always wait last minute. She hit a slick spot and collided with a semi with...
So sorry, that is terrible.
I just got teary, so sorry.
I lost my friend towards the end of our freshman year to a car crash. Just graduated a few months ago. It's surreal to see everything move on after someone is gone, and to know she should have been there in her cap and gown, but never got the chance to see the rest of high school.
She's a professor at Oxford University.
Good lord.
Shit.
Wow. Maybe I've heard her voice on the BBC In Our Time podcast. Seems like they've had every Oxford professor on that show.
Fentale happened to her, married the most abusive guy ever and had 3 kids. Divorced.
Fentanyl is so goddamn destructive. I see their tragic stories play out every shift I work. It's soul draining.
Fucking shit, that's awful.
Maybe she wasn't so smart after all.
The smartest kids I knew in school turned to alcohol and doing really dumb shit. Maybe not all, but quite a few. The bullies didn't amount to anything either. The mediocre ones in the middle were the ones that had successful careers and normal lives.
My bullies became cops. No joke. Of the 3 people I knew from high school who eventually became cops, all of them were bullies. Only one of them really bullied me. And it was only for a little while, until I confronted him in front of some of our mutual friends and asked why he was being a dick and what had I ever done to him. Then he laid off me, but he was still a bully to other people. Dude had rage issues too. And the reason he started fucking with me was because I refused to follow his orders. When I found out he was a cop, a couple decades later, I was like, Jesus, I'd hate to ever get pulled over by him. He acted like one of those dick cops you see foaming at the mouth, screaming in people's face for refusing to let him shit on their rights before he even had any official authority. Can't imagine what he turned into once he got some.
Teacher here, this generally holds true. Average kids do best over time.
Really smart people drinking too much is definitely a pattern. A super busy mind needs something to calm down a bit.
She went to med school. Far as I know, her life is good. Edit. For everyone saying med school sucks, she graduated, so at least that's over and done with. Lol.
Not necessarily. More than 4 out of 10 medical doctors regret becoming medical doctors. /www. Beckish Hospital Review. com/hospital-physician relationships. 43 of physicians regret their career choice. AMA. HTML. Reasons. Professional fulfillment scores dropped from 40% in 2020 to 4% in 2021. Emotional exhaustion scores increased 38.6%, and depersonalization scores increased 67%. Of physicians, 62.8% manifested at least one trait of burnout, compared to 38.2% in 2020. Satisfaction with work-life integration declined from 46.1% in 2020 to 32% in 2021. Depression scores increased by 6.1%.
No one's life is good in med school.
There is also a lot of people who can't sustain the med school life.
Went to a big college, got a degree in tech, now makes 6 figures and owns a townhouse outside of Baltimore. He lives with his grandmother mainly, smokes a shitload of weed, flies a girl from Colorado to fucking smoke with. I married his sister.
This story lightened my mood drastically after the other stories I've read here.
Honestly, dude sounds like he has the chillest life. Has a nice place to rest, family always close, makes a solid salary, gets to smoke and chill every evening, and has sex without the strings of a relationship.
Good on you.
Had a full ride through Berkeley, ended up experimenting a lot with hallucinogens, started to believe he was a star child or starseed and was from another planet, ended up starving himself in a national park to die with the Earth so he could meet other star children. Fucking miss and love you, buddy. Edit. It has come to my attention there is a Berkeley and a Berkeley. He was the smartest kid, not me, lol. So I'm updating this to add the correct college.
Dude, I know a schizophrenic person who went off about starseeds and whatnot. It's terrifying to watch when you know how they used to be.
Was your friend Chris McCandless?
Berkeley is one hell of a drug bro.
Unfortunately, the smartest kid in my class in middle school ended his life in 8th grade. He was also a brilliant violinist. I was his stand partner in orchestra. I was proud to be his brother's stand partner in high school. Rest in peace, Connor.
8th grade. What a tragedy.
Tragic, Rip Connor.
I'm a violinist. I can feel your pain. So young, so much talent. I hope that he's in a better place now.
Went to college for mathematics as one of the most promising young minds in the Midwest. Was in college for a year before switching to study Spanish. Dropped out a year later. Currently works at GameStop, 20 minutes from his parents' house, where he lives. He was a good friend of mine, but I recently learned that he considered me his best friend. It's such a shame that his intelligence is going to waste. He is literally so smart and has such a talent for math. But he seems content with his life. Who am I to judge?
As long as he's happy. Hell, as long as he's alive. It's not a waste. People with intelligence aren't obligated to go off and be rocket scientists or millionaires, or else be considered a waste, you know? Working at a GameStop is perfectly respectable for him or anyone else. I know you likely didn't mean that unkindly, But I feel obligated to say this for all the people out there who feel afraid that what they do is considered a waste. They hear it and fear it too often.
He's probably not as content as he pretends to be.
The smartest kid from my class works at a bookstore at a failing mall. He never wanted to do anything after high school. I think his parents convinced him to do 1 year at the local college. I remember he was writing a novel at some point, but I don't think he finished it.
That was me. I'm now a stay-at-home dad of 4 wonderful kids, and in a loving 16-year marriage, my wife is my best friend. While I may not have reached my full potential academically, I'm happy, very happy. I realize that life is too short to care about anything other than living my life the way that I want to, not the way that I'm expected to.
This is me too. Massive potential. I did go and finish university, but became an educator rather than a lawyer. Father wanted me to be one. I now stay at home and look after 2 children. I am a full-time dad. My wife makes more than enough for us to do whatever we want, and she is motivated and loves her work.
I feel if you grew up knowing you had nothing to prove academically, you're more likely to live the adult life of your choosing, rather than join the rat race.
Sounds like you're still an intelligent person. Got your priorities right?
Edit. Let me correct my post. She married the now 2nd richest man. It's hard to keep up with the billionaires and how fast their interest doubled their wealth over the pandemic. She married the now richest man in the world, divorced him, and is now the 4th richest human. Not bad.
Mackenzie Scott was the smartest kid in her high school. Why did Bezos let her go?
Hey, Mackenzie Scott was employee number 4 or something. She didn't just marry the richest guy in the world. She had a hand in creating one of the most successful companies in the world.
She was my neighbor in CA when she and her brothers were young. I used to babysit them all the time.
He did his undergraduate degree, couldn't afford a master's, etc., so ended up working in offices for 15 years, where he had to hide his intelligence around his coworkers. Finally founded his own company, and is now in politics, where he can be the smartest person in the room, and people will respect it. Good guy, just way above most people's level of intelligence, and has had to hide it most of his life.
I might be missing something here. Is there a reason why they hid their intelligence?
People in politics respect intelligence. Are you not in the US? Lol.
Is now in politics where he can be the smartest person in the room and people will respect it. Ha 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 ha! Oh, if only that were still the case these days.
I moved away as soon as possible. My hometown is 3,000 people, and mostly farmers. Being the smartest there was not hard. I'm not even close to the smartest anywhere else.
I remember half a dozen kids crying on our first day in high school after we did a maths test, and they didn't finish first. Not the smartest in the class, let alone the school. Now your class is 400 people, not 4.
Same, except that your town was a metropolis compared to mine.
I did similarly. I'm a professor of geography and head of department at a good university in Australia. I also had 3 kids by 20 years of age, and they both changed the way I could eventually go about my career, but were also instrumental in me ensuring that I got one. My youngest will leave home in the next few months, and I am not sure if I actually want to find out what it's like to return to an Ivy League or similar, now that I've struck such a great work-life balance here.
Crushed under the weight of expectations and mental illness, he burned out and works call centers now, instead of his full potential.
His full potential is a myth, and a cruel one. It's this absolutely imaginary thing that people are forced I chase and feel shame about. If he's happy or just alive, he's doing good, you know?
Oh, I see you know me.
Can't believe I had to scroll this far down for a version of what is probably the most common fate for the smartest kid in the class, who is burdened with the world's expectations.
I was one of those. I got my BA, dropped out of grad school. Now I make $18K USD in a developing country, and I'm reasonably happy with my life after about 7 years of on and off suicidal depression.
Hang in there. Seems like things are turning the corner. I'm happy for you.
I was top 5% of my class, went to an Ivy League and was set to go to medical school. But the more I shadowed MDs, the more I realized what a scam medicine was, in terms of residency being slavery, amount of debt I'd have to go into, the sheer numbers of hours per week I'd put in as an MD, and went to get a master's in nursing instead. Now, both me and my SO are travel nurses and work 6 months out of the year and travel the country/world. The other half, I spent last summer in Alaska, this summer in Montana, and basically my life is amazing. The smartest thing I ever did was drop out of the rat race.
It's all relative. I make 42,000 in another country where the same job pays 70K in LA. However, the quality of life and how much more I can do with the money feels like I am making 100K. Reasonably happy is an absolutely fantastic place to be. Keep that level and feel blessed if you perhaps find even more happiness.
He was drafted in the 7th round by the St. Louis Cardinals, and he was getting his master's in biomed at 21-22. Played a few years in lower ball after signing around a $250,000 signing bonus. Now he's a nuclear medicine doctor.
I was today years old when I learned nuclear bombs get sick.
Whoa.
Nucmed can be so boring.
Works in Tesco stacking shelves. He was an aerospace engineer, but he had some mental health issues and just couldn't take the pressure. Super smart and really nice guy, but always struggled socially.
He was likely neurodiverse, similar to personal experience.
I dated a guy like this, engineer, mental health issues and all.
Look like a bum, sipping codeine Coca-Cola.
His mom wouldn't let him play with me anymore because he was in the advanced reading group. Ran into him 20 years later. He was a paper salesman at a failing paper company.
So is his boss's name, Michael Scott.
Is this in the Office reference?
I hope you didn't bring it up and reveal your resentment towards him after all these years.
I absorbed his powers. Now he just watches TikToks all day.
Bro, I'm coming to Reddit for a reason. Don't remind me of why average IQ has fallen by 20%.
Now I have the power of a grown man and a nerd.
He just accepted a full professorship at a big university in the States, particle physicist, also my bestie.
Okay, bestie is adorable.
There's no fermions like them, fermions.
God, I love adults using the word bestie.
I ended up being a drug addict and a cook at a bar. Being smart doesn't do anything if it just drives you to insecurity and depression, except make you loathe yourself for not living up to your potential.
I love bar food.
Same here. My last years of high school were pure hell for my mental health. Developed an ED, attempted a few times and was riddled with crippling anxiety. Overall, not the greatest time for me. The expectations of everyone around me and the pressure of succeeding were too much to bear. Choosing to not study any further and just get a job was the best decision I made. Yes, I just work in a supermarket now, but it doesn't put as much pressure on me and I've met some wonderful people thanks to it. So, I don't regret it one single bit. I loathe meeting anyone from high school again because they always go on about it, how I've wasted my potential and how I should have done this and that and blah, blah, blah. Like, you don't know what I've been through. Sfoo.
I'm scrolling down, and I think the theme is either grew to be a neuroscientist or the rest of us struggling with insecurities, depression, and a plethora of mental health issues, amplified by self-hate for not living up to your potential.
Went to MIT and became an aerospace engineer, I think.
Most aerospace engineers I know really like their job.
I want to be an aerospace engineer, OMG.
He died from cancer shortly after graduation.
My heart goes out to his family and friends.
Same. One of the smartest girl in my Form 3 class died of cancer just before graduating.
Same. He was a grade below me, but the smartest kid I ever met. He had a huge crush on me in 8th, 9th grade, and I honestly really liked him too, but couldn't bring myself to date him because he had dated a good friend of mine previously. He was featured in Forbes magazine at 22 as an eco-friendly business magnate and started up his own business. I was really proud of him, and I was eager to see how far his business would take him. Got lung cancer at 25, and it was really aggressive. He died at 26. He never drank or smoked a cigarette his entire life. He's still my friend on Facebook, and I go back to it occasionally to see how many lives he touched. Damn good singer, too.
Works as a staff engineer at a tech company.
Yeah, mine is similar. Actually trying to stick it to upcharging services, like StubHub.
All the pressure made me have a mental breakdown in college. I was diagnosed with many illnesses mentally, finished my first round with a 3.98, got diagnosed with fibromyalgia, fucked my body and memory so bad I had to quit my job working at our doctor's office. Developed severe myofascial pelvic pain syndrome. I lost everything, including my husband. He cheated and left because not working made me not part of the team. I wish I put more effort into experiences rather than education, as now I'm disabled, and it all feels pointless and worthless, as I'm in debt. I can't work out of...
I'm so sorry.
Sounds just like me. Finally got diagnosed with lupus and fibro. I'm a mess.
I became disabled young, and my husband cheated and left also. Just wanted to offer some solidarity.
I was voted most likely to succeed. At the time I was a B student, graduated with just under a 3.0 GPA. I'm not sure why they voted me that. I was smart and did spend my time programming and thinking about physics and math, so that's probably why. I went to community college and did well enough to transfer to UC Berkeley. Then I did an MS at UCLA. I started working at Google after, and got married and had a kid. I left after 5 years to do a PhD at Stanford in computer science, artificial intelligence. Just graduated. It'll be my 20-year reunion soon. So I guess I did succeed, though I haven't really made a mark on the world yet, maybe. But actually, there were tons of really successful people in my graduating class. During high school, everyone seemed angsty and mean, but so many of them got their acts together. There are dozens of PhDs and MDs and journalists, business people, etc. I mean, yes, there were definitely a good number of not-so-successful people too, but I don't think I was a major outlier.
This post is the top post where the op has the credentials to back it up. Berkeley and UCLA are top-tier computer science schools by themselves, but to get a PhD from Stanford, the leafing AI research college in the world, puts this poster more in the category of smartest kid in school district.
I had the highest SAT score of my graduating class and scored highest on IQ test in 11th grade, as well as 3.2 GPA because I had a general disdain to doing homework. Ended up going to prison my junior year of college. I own 3 garages, a duplex, my house, and a few lots. I do pretty good.
Oftentimes, most likely to succeed is based on how much a kid understands the world, their work ethic, and their natural drive to learn, work, make change. These are also signs of true intelligence, rather than memory or comprehension.
She directs, if that's what it's called, a popular children's cartoon on Netflix, and makes $. She often posts about houses for sale in her Los Angeles neighborhood. Each is asking about $10 million minimum. Guess she did okay. Wish I knew we were both gay back then. Joking. She was boring.
What cartoon show?
She often posts about houses for sale in her Los Angeles neighborhood. Each is asking about $10 million minimum. Sounds like a very boring and shallow person. Let me guess, they are written like, "Come be my neighbor, no poor people."
Shira?
I was valedictorian in a class of 20 people in high school. I never found work in the field I studied in college, and was tired of the shitty entry-level work I'd been stuck doing for years, so I went back to school for some certs related to IT and programming. I'm doing just above entry-level IT work now, which is fine. The girl I was planning to marry left me shortly after I turned 30, but because of the housing market, I'm forced to live in the guest room of the home we had bought together. Due to one of the jobs I'd worked before getting into IT, I'm dealing with anxiety and depression caused by PTSD. I'm living in a city that I hate after having left my friends and family behind to move in with my now ex, so I'm very much alone. People often said I was smart, but it was always just surface-level facts and decent communication skills. I know my situation could always be worse. I'm grateful to have a job and a place to sleep, and being able to communicate with friends over Discord has been helpful. Still, I'd hoped my 30s wouldn't be like this.
I give you hug.
I loved my 30s. I made changes to myself and my life that are still paying dividends, more than 30 years later. My favorite age was 35. You can do a lot to change your life in your 30s if you want to.
He went to Harvard Law School, then moved back and created a startup that helps make healthcare accessible in disadvantaged communities. Was a great guy then and great guy now. He committed suicide 10 years ago.
Oh no.
They say that the best functioning brains understand the true nature of reality too well, and that these outcomes tend to occur.
A bunch of us would always vie for the top position and took turns to do so, with a narrow victory margin. While I'm leading a comfortable life, one of them died after a drug overdose. He was a doctor.
Not my class, but the one above me, and it was my brother. He was superlative winner. Best smile, most likely to be famous, likely to succeed, best dressed, most likely to be famous, etc. The school made him pick 2. He also won prom king and fulfilled all his projected roles. As his little sister, my big brother is my absolute hero of a human all around. He is a PA making bank, drives a cool car, humble AF, has a beautiful GF. I hope to call my Sile one day. Me? I got Sainoritis, and the school had to call my mom to let me know I needed to show up for superlative pics. Lol. I'm an artist. I work with rock stars on the spectrum. I have 100 plants and solo travel to go hiking. Emo. We made it. All the money in the world wouldn't put me through his academic endurance. He is such a great role model. I'm so blessed to have him as my big brother and best friend. He calls me for his mental turmoils, and I make time. I call him when I made a new art plant sale. Our relationship is unmatched.
Honestly, you sound exactly like my brother and I, except my brother is younger than me. There's nothing quite like a great sibling relationship, and I wouldn't trade that for the world.
This is my favorite comment.
Could not love this more. Hope one day my sweet kids share a similar connection to you and your bro.
Dude signed a multi-million-dollar offer for an engineer at Comptroller who sent him to Europe where he traveled, added to his funds, became FB with a pop idol in Korea, came back here, left again to go be Zaphod Beeblebrox. Guy farted clouds of luck and charisma. Winner. And a genuinely kind man.
Care to say which K-pop idol or group they belong to?
She moved to Florida and works for Disney.
Same for the one I know. She got a degree in communications and organizes massive events with an efficiency that terrifies me. I'm really proud to call her my best friend.
As an Imagineer?
Please tell me she is Belle.
I'm late here, so no one will bother to read, but I'll look back on this one fondly. He went to ace the board exam, twice in 2 different fields. I couldn't be prouder. Most importantly, he became my boyfriend and changed many perspectives I had in life. I'd have never lived up to this day were it not for him, and I hope I did, and still do, my best to care for him the same. It wasn't always shiny days. He had very depressive episodes, with lots of doubts and being forced to face heavy pressure. We had a toxic relationship in between, and a lot of things weren't healthy at all. I even projected a lot of insecurities, especially being with this very intelligent person compared to my inferior self. Imagine hormones and adulting mixing up. Wow. Fortunately, we are in a so much better state right now. Man, was it a journey. We changed and developed as our own individuals, with lots of moments shared together. I'm lucky to have him. I don't care if he's smart or whatever. He's fucking funny and is able to listen to me rant about whatever favorite thing I have for the day. He's not a cat person, but damn, I'm trying to convert him through the cat subreddits here. And I'll be here for him.
I bothered to read. Happy for you.
I think I'll end my doom scrolling on this to feel good for the day.
That's wonderful to read. Congratulations for the both of you.
I really overcommitted to rebelling against my potential.
Baby steps. Just go try stuff and fail. I was terrified of not meeting my potential, and it wrecked me for a bit. I'm still not meeting it, but I'm doing some good work in the meantime.
Truly a gifted underachiever, in the finest sense of the ad.
There are many of us who've grown to self-sabotage. I carry my college dropout tag with pride after all that pressure growing up. My dad still asks why I don't go study again, and I'm quite arrogant when I tell him I don't feel like it.
One is an anesthetist, one is a pediatric cardiologist, and the other was CFO of a major bank in our home country before moving to Switzerland to work in finance there.
How much money has he helped hide launder is the real question.
The good old Swiss bank.
Wasting time on Reddit,
As is mine.
he got his PhD in engineering, started his own company, and was a multi-millionaire by 45.
As to the confusion over the was-is, I was stated my friend had achieved multimillionaire success by 45. The company continued to grow. My friend was active in it through his 50s, sold his interest, and retired much wealthier.
Wow.
Assuming 7% interest, if you get a job out of college at 22, and for the next 23 years you put the max allowed amount into your 401k, $2,000 a year, you will have $1 million at 45.
Got married, became a Christian, much to everyone's surprise, and started a chain of after-school tutoring programs in Singapore, where parents will pay any price for after-school tutoring.
As a Singaporean, that last sentence is so true.
Where parents will pay any price for after-school tutoring. Ultimate mega global super genius.
She teaches the ACS and RI's kids.
Overdose. Kid was valedictorian and probably the highest person at our school at any given moment. And that's saying something, considering the town we were in. Sad as fuck. R.I.P.
Highest as in?
Live hard.
After getting her bachelor's at MIT and PhD at Caltech, she's a professor now.
Why not applying all what she learned? Why just a professor?
From one school, he was razzed, not quite bullied, because he wanted to be a truck driver. He later graduated as valedictorian from our local VocTech school, got an associate's degree in diesel mechanics, did that for a few years, and later went back to the community college and has taught it since the late 1980s. He would have been a drastic failure as, say, a doctor or a lawyer. From another school, she and her husband are probably sovereign citizens. I sure wish I was making that up.
Whim sovereign, like some actual king and queen.
He married my sister, got a job in tech, and continues to be smart.
I read that as you married your sister.
Wait a minute. There's a comment about how a dude went into tech and married the smart kid's sister.
He got a job in tech?
I amounted to nothing, is what most people would say, looking at me. But the truth is, I am living a satisfying and happy life. No debt, because I chose not to go to college. A wonderful woman who is madly in love with me and I her. And I enjoy my free time doing what I love. I'm happy. I'm not rich. I don't have a prestigious job or title, but I am legitimately satisfied with life. I win.
Good for you. I'm kinda eye-rolling at these people thinking winning at the rat race equals winning at life.
Honestly, being happy and satisfied is the real win. As one of those smart kids, the pressure and mental health stuff is real. Congrats on finding your own place in the world.
The older you get, the less the competition matters, because the indicators of success become more diverse and numerous. Having a college degree at 22 is an indicator of success, as many people at this age won't really have a mansion, a family, or a multi-million business. But, for instance, at 30, some even non-educated peers will have multi-million-dollar businesses. Others did not invest in a career but still have a loving family. The college-educated think they missed out on something because they aren't married yet, etc. What being on the right track means is increasingly harder to translate to universal indicators of success. They cease to exist at some point as lives evolve and people grow up.
That was me, Dux, or valedictorian of my high school, voted brainiest by my peers for the school yearbook, highest university entrance grades of my school. Quintessential nerd. I went into chemical engineering because that was the degree brainy kids did. I was okay at the job, but never great. Bounced around across 5 different manufacturing companies, mostly in entry-level positions or close to it. Has some mild successes, got a few promotions, got made redundant a lot. Finally secured a management position after 10 years, and realized I absolutely hated every aspect of the job. Did a lot of soul-searching. It really was a massive shock to my system that I had failed at something that was meant to be for the smart people. Took a lot for me to redefine my identity without smart being at the heart of it. These days, I teach chemistry at the local high school. I absolutely love it. Kind of regret that I turned my nose up for years because I was too smart to be a teacher. But I can't change the past, so all that's left to do is learn from it.
Next, you get lung cancer and start cooking meth.
Why is one 5,000 milliliter round bottom boiling flask, one Kjeldal-style recovery flask 800 milliliters, 2 full-face respirators, some CEP funnels, some head with a thermometer holder missing from your inventory?
Honestly, if I was a kid again, I'd prefer my teachers to be someone smart and or interested in their subject enough to teach it, compared to how it was up until maybe 10 to 15 years ago, when most teachers were someone who studied teaching only because they couldn't get in anywhere else. Thank you for teaching our future, and it's awesome that you're happy.
He got someone preggers right out of HIS. So he decided to not go to the Ivy League school he had a full scholarship to and stay home to be a dad. He got his associates at the local community college and is now a science teacher at the same high school he graduated from. I talk to him every once in a while when I'm down there to visit my parents. He's always asking about my job, because he wanted to be a software engineer when he graduated high school, and the community college didn't even have regular computer classes, so he settled for some environmental science degree.
Damn, I don't know if to be happy or sad, but glad he's got a family that loves him.
Hope he realizes that by teaching at the community college, he's probably having a bigger and more direct, positive impact on more individual people than he would writing software.
That's pretty sad.
He works for Apple and hits the gym like crazy, busy of all his free time, has more women and less worries than me, and I respect it.
What the fuck does he do for Apple that he has a bunch of free time?
Dang.
I was one of 19 valedictorians in my class of about 520. No weighted grades, so we all had 4.0 GPA. I got a BSI degree at a state university, magna cum laude. Worked lab tech jobs, worked for the Forest Service, moved overseas, earned a master's, and now I'm a park ranger. Doing well academically in high school and college really burned me out. Now I get to work outdoors, and am pretty happy. Still have regrets and think about what I could have been, but I try not to let it get to me. No clue what the other 18 valedictorians are up to.
Park ranger seems like an awesome job.
The burnout is real. That's an incredible journey you've been on. Hope you find peace with what is a very enviable life.
How are there 19 valedictorians? I thought the point is there's only one in a salutatorian.
Supreme Court Justice.
Yeah, but they let any idiot on that bench nowadays.
Which one?
Do tell.
This thread seems to just add more credit to the idea that truly intelligent people are typically less happy than those that aren't as intelligent.
Ignorance really is bliss.
It's not intelligence that fucks you up. It's external pressure and expectations. I struggled several times with it, but intelligence comes with its own shit. Most of us who have high IQ have ADHD or similar shit. Also, since you are a kid, you generate expectations, and when you can't meet them, it's really hard to accept.
Besides whatever malady the ability brings, ignorance is bliss. A good portion of these people are, of course, stricken with illnesses due to overwhelming external stresses and pressures.
High school. Disappeared. Somebody said he was working in a coffee shop while the rest of us went to college, but literally no one ever heard from him again. College launched several successful tech startups and is considered a mentor to many in Silicon Valley.
It's good to disappear.
Let me make a wild guess, Sean Parker?
So, he's the one who made us suffer with Jira.
Damn.
Which one, Mike or Scott?
Frickin' financial advisor. One of those salesman types.
Lucky duck. Pull in $400K a year. Enjoy a few paid vacations from your company each year, and play golf a couple times a week by the time you hit 40.
Same. Financial stock, something, money, which is what her dad did. During her valedictorian graduation speech, she even said she wanted to be an elementary teacher, but she knew her dad would never let her because she would be poor.
She became a right-wing religious fanatic with 9 kids.
If she's the smartest, I feel sorry for the rest of you window lickers.
Crazy thought, but maybe she's happy?
Yikes.
That was me. Or smartest, as in best achieving academically. Went on to uni and studied history and a master's in medieval history. Graduated both top of the class. Everyone expected me to do a PhD, but I found academics too lonely and wanted to have a more social workplace, so became a history teacher in high school instead, and love it.
Good for you. It's not about living up to others' expectations. It's about finding your own place. Plus, I'm sure having a good teacher will be awesome for your students' lives.
Multi-millionaire tech guy, lol. Cancer researcher. Sometimes I wonder if that was me. Maybe being smart has less to do with success as does parental wealth and social opportunity.
I would argue sometimes even that doesn't help. Really more like how someone adapts to life changes emotionally. I know plenty of people with parental wealth and social opportunity that just did not get it together and did not have the best mental health. It's sad to see.
Nah, it wasn't you. You wouldn't wonder, you'd know.
Being smart has genetic and environmental factors. Having rich parents can help you plenty. I looked at the Chancellor's Scholarship roster at my university this year, and I'm one of the only ones from a public school. I think having resources may cause you to allocate more of your faculties to academic goals, but surviving a hard upbringing takes thought too.
You just doxed the poor girl.
She's now an anchor on Nightline, apparently.
He grew up and did relatively nothing with his life. He's me.
Ben Kenobi.
He is me, he is I, and I am him.
Fuck suicide. Lost the most brilliant person I have ever met in my life to suicide. I'm sorry for your loss.
He is a rocket scientist who works for NASA. Just kidding. He's a mathematician who works for NASA. She died of alcoholism last year.
How is that possible? Did she get drunk to her death?
He went to a prestigious university where he became a pompous asshole if he wasn't secretly one already in high school. Went on to become a pompous lawyer. Good for him, I guess.
You sound like you feel some kind of way.
Someone is seething.
Lol.
He flamed out in college. He flamed out in technical college. Got divorced from his high school girlfriend. And last I heard, was working in a fast food restaurant. Not a manager. It was probably me. I'm successful on paper, but I hate my life, so go figure.
I always said, you are one decision away from a completely different life. Choose wisely.
Money is love, money is life. It's all that matters, really.
Can you change it?
She moved to Switzerland and got her PhD in physics. And she's my best friend.
I might know this person, but there's probably more than one woman with a PhD in physics in Switzerland, so maybe not.
She dropped out of med school to start a photography business. It failed.
There's a reason why there's a meme about a photographer's biggest payday being the day they sell their camera.
As a photographer, I can tell you the way to make a small fortune as a photographer is to start with a large one.
He committed suicide a couple of weeks ago. He was my friend.
I'm sorry for your loss.
I'm so sorry. Big hug for you.
Sadly, this thread shows it's common.
He stopped coming to school in HS to do heroin, practically had photographic memory. He just absorbed information so well, had a bad home life. Just retired as a school teacher, Sheeson and husband are building a dream house in Arkansas with a big piece of land.